Hi, this is Jamie Magrich coming to you from my craft table. Today I came up with this card here, and I'd like to show you how I did it. It is using the Waterfront stamp set from Stampin'Up, and we're going to be using the mountainy one, the trees, this little speckles, and then one of the sentiments. Okay, we're also going to be using the Subtles embossing folder. It's one of the Dynamics ones. We're going to be using the Big Shot. We're going to be using some other stamping blocks, but we're going to be using the H block to actually use as a stamp. We have Highland Heather and Smoky Slate ink pads. We have Share What You Love Artisan Pearls. We're going to use a few of those. I'm going to move these out of the way so they're not in the way. We have 5 Stampin' Blend markers. We have Balmy Blue, Coastal Cabana, Granny Apple Green, and then we have Mossy Meadow and Espresso. And then we have an ink dauber, one of the punches from the Itty Bitty Blossoms, I think it's called. Let me see, I wrote it down. Let's see. It's here in this. It's in the Occasions catalog. Bitty Blooms Punch Pack. You can get it with a bundle with the Bloom by Bloom stamp set here. Whoops, I'm not in camera. There you go. This one here. Okay. And the Sprig Punch, which was from the Occasions catalog earlier in the season. Rubbing alcohol in a spritz bottle. And for paper, we have a piece of Whisper White that's 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. A piece of Lemon Lime Twist, which is 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. These are going to layer together, and all of our layers have just 1/8 of an inch border around them. We have a 4 by 5 1/4 and a 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. This is Highland Heather. This is Lemon Lime Twist, and again they're gonna just have that 1/8 inch border. And then we have our thick card base, which is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored and then folded, and these will layer on top of each other. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is run this piece of Highland Heather through my Big Shot so we can get that out of the way. And again, this is 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to bring in the Big Shot. Hopefully you can see. Okay. So our sandwich is going to be our Big Shot platform. We're not going to use the Thin Dynamics, the thin die adapter plate. We're going to have our Subtles embossing folder. I'm going to put the paper in there. Close it up. Make sure it's centered on your plate because it's almost the same width as the plate. Put a plastic plate on top of it, a clear plate, and run it through. I'm sorry, it's going to wiggle the table. Okay. There we go. That gives a nice texture. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, put this aside. We're done with the Big Shot. That's all the Big Shot work. Okay, now we're going to come in. We might as well layer these ones together. Layer the granny apple green and the purple one right on top of our card base. And we're going to be using Tombow glue for that. Sharpen camera here. It's a new setup and I'm having a little bit of difficulty getting used to where everything, the camera view is. Tried to do it so that everything was right side up when I was filming. Okay, and again there's just going to be 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Okay, then we'll put the purple one on top of that. Whichever side you want up, it doesn't really matter. They're both a really good texture. Border. I like the wet glue because then I can wiggle it just a little bit to get it straight. Alright, so we've got that. I'm going to set that aside for now. Okay, then we're going to work on this, our stamping. So first thing we're going to do is take this piece of Whisper White. It's just a regular Whisper White. It's 2 5/8 by 4 1/8. We are going to take this block okay, and we're going to take the 3 blues and the green color. We're going to start with this balmy blue, and with the wider tip we're going to scribble ink onto the block. We've done this before. Okay, then we're going to take the Coastal Cabana. We're going to go below that. Okay, then we're going to take the Granny Apple Green. And I think I got a little too much on here. I want to wipe a little bit off because I don't want it quite the full length of the... There we go. Okay, then we're going to take our alcohol and our mister. We're going to mist it. And I'm going to do that off camera because I don't want to get everything all wet. And I just spritz it about 5 times. You see how that looks? I don't know if you can. And we're going to use this as a stamp, and we're going to stamp it down over on the left hand side, leaving maybe about 1/4 of an inch border, if that. Doesn't matter if it's straight, doesn't, it's, you're going to see it absorb into the paper. Okay, then take it off. Okay, we're done with that. Alright. Now we're going to take, and I just realized I did something incorrectly, but that's alright, we'll grab a scrap. We're going to take the mountain and the smoky slate ink pad. We're going to open the Highland Heather one as well, because we're going to ink up the mountain with the smoky slate. We're going to take our finger dauber, ink up the dauber with the Highland Heather, and on the edges of the mountains, it doesn't really matter which side, just pick a side and dab a little bit of the purple onto the mountain. Okay? Hair on there. Breathe on it. And about 1/3 of the way down, we're going to stamp this mountain. Well, some of it's going to hang off of the edge of where we stamp. That's alright. Perfect. We're done with that one. Now we're going to clean off the mountain. I'm going to put away these ink pads because we're completely done with those. We're going to use the mountain. This time we're going to use it upside down. And we're going to use it to stamp some grass. But let's stamp the trees first. Okay, so we've got our trees. We're going to take the Granny Apple Green, and we're going to color the trees, just the trees itself. We're going to leave the stems. Okay, then we're going to take the espresso and we're going to do the stems, or the trunks, and just a little here and there throughout the tree, because sometimes you see a little bit of stem through the tree. And then we're going to take the darker green, the mossy meadow, and we're going to kind of tap that on the trees as well. Just tapping it. Okay, and we're going to breathe on it, and we're going to stamp them so that two of the trees are on our image and one of them is hanging off, kind of down here in this area. We want it to go over the mountains just a little bit, and so that two of those trunks are down there in that grass. Okay. Ink absorb, pick it up, perfect. I like that a lot. Now we're going to take this mountain and we're going to take the Granny Apple Green and we're going to scribble onto the bottom of this. Doesn't matter if we get the whole thing or not. Basically we're just going to be adding a little bit of a shadow to where we put the trees, and put a little bit of darkness at the top part. And again, it's upside down, and we're going to stamp it under the trees and over this way a little, so the whole mountain doesn't show, just part of it. Okay, perfect. Alright, now we're going to take this one, and I forgot an ink pad. We need a what did I use? Oh no, I didn't. We're using the Highland Heather. The Highland Heather ink pad. I forgot what I did here for a minute. And this one with all the spots. We're going to ink that up. We're going to stamp it down here under the trees, so it looks like there's little flowers all over the place. Okay. Oh, a couple over here I missed. Alright. And then we're going to take our sentiment. It says, every little kindness makes the world brighter, and we're going to stamp that with the Highland Heather over in this section. Make sure you got it inked good. Perfect. That's our stamping. I got a little carryover, but that's alright. Pushed a little too hard there. Alright. Now, we're going to mount that on our green piece, but before we do, our lemon lime twist 2 3/4 by 4 1/4 inch piece, we're going to punch out 2 of these sprigs. Make sure they're not too close to the edge. Okay. now we can mount this on top of our Granny Apple Green with our multi-purpose liquid adhesive. Make sure you get plenty of adhesive because it is, we did use the alcohol on it, so it's a little bit warped. And I'm doing it upside down. It helps me to get that edge lined up. Alright. And what I realized I forgot to do was punch out 3 little flowers out of this. But we'll just grab a scrap piece if I can find one. Here we go. Punch out 3 little flowers. And I'm pushing it in, not doing it at the edge, so I can still use it as a base piece behind something. This is my last piece of this color. I have more ordered coming, but they haven't come yet. And the other ones were run through that subtles folders. They had textures, so let me grab stylus. We'll just make some texture on it since just crinkle it just a little bit. The other card, they're flat because I'd ran it through the, it was already run through the subtles embossing folder. Okay, now we're going to take that sponge dauber that we used to add the purple on the mountains. We're not going to add any more ink to it. We're just going to ink the edges of the flowers. And that's just so that they have a little bit of dimension, or when you put them on that background you want them to show, because the background is the same color. You could cut them out of a different color if you wanted. Remember to stay in the camera. Okay, then we're going to take those artisan pearls. We're going to put one in the center of each one of those flowers. Right in the center. I'm using this kind of pinky colored one. I'm sure it has a color, but come off my finger. Thank you. One more. Okay, now we're going to put dimensionals on the back of this piece. I'm using quite a few because we did color on that with the alcohol. And I want to make sure it doesn't do wiggly wobblies when we're mounting it. Okay, and then on the back of these little flowers we're going to use a little tiny dimensionals. Oops, where'd it go? This went flying. Okay, it's into the other dimension somewhere. I guess I'll pop out another one real fast. Of course I can't find it. Okay, let's pop another one. Okay. Get some things out of the way here. Alright, now let's put our card together. We already got this part done. Now you would have, if I had remembered, punched these flowers out from up here where we're going to be putting this down. So you would have pushed the punch all the way to the, so the edge of the card was against the back of the punch, and made sure it was behind where you were going to put this. Since I forgot to do that, trying to save a little paper. I want to use my paper, but I don't have a lot of certain colors, so I want to make sure I'm using it to the, you know, the best of my ability, so there's no waste. Okay, so we're going to pop this up here so there's a little more on the bottom and a little more on the right hand side. Okay. Now we're going to take these sprigs and our multi-liquid glue, and I am camera, kind of a little bit off camera. We're going to put them down here. Okay, so we're going to put some glue on the back. One down here. You don't want it to hang off the card. Don't want to put too much glue either. Little tiny bits. I've almost got too much glue on this one. One up here. Okay, now we're going to take our little flowers. Make a little arrangement down here in this bottom corner. The hardest part of this card is taking the dimensionals off. Oops, this one doesn't have a dimensional. Taking the backs off the dimensionals. There we go. There's our card. Here's the one I made earlier. And each one's going to be a little bit different. I think I used a little bit more of the darker green on this one. I kind of like the dimensions of these trees better though. It's kind of pretty. Well, thank you so much for joining me at my craft table. I hope you have a great rest of your day.